This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
And welcome to the show. I'm Roby Brock. Thanks for joining us. First up, we knew her as the daughter of former Arkansas governor and two-time presidential candidate Mike Huckabee. Then she joined Team Trump, eventually becoming his White House press secretary. After leaving last year, Sarah Huckabee Sanders is now out with a new book called Speaking for Myself. It recounts her time in the White House. Sarah and I dived into the book, the psychology of President Trump, and what may happen after November 3rd. FYI, there was a tape delay in our satellite interview that neither Sarah nor I could hear, and the delay makes it sound like I'm interrupting her. I assure you I was not, so please excuse the technical gaffe. Why did you feel the need to write this book at this particular juncture? You could have waited till Donald Trump wasn't in office, whether that's after November or 4 years from now, but why did you feel the need to write this book now?
Well, I think there have been so many negative books about the president, and oftentimes from people who didn't spend the type of time with him that I did. I saw a president who loves this country, is fighting for America, and I saw the generous and compassionate side of Donald Trump day in and day out over the 2.5 years that I spent working for him. And I wanted people to see the person that I got to know. And that was one of the big catalysts for writing the book. And I hope people will read it and enjoy laughing a little, crying a little, and maybe even be inspired a little to fight for what matters in this country.
This will not be news to you, but there have been some critics who have questioned your credibility because of your time at the White House podium there. In particular, they've cited the James Comey firing and your statements on that. There's been the Jim Acosta video that was just doctored somewhat. I want you to address your critics and tell me, why should your account of what happened in this book be considered credible?
Well, I address a lot of that in the book head on. And if anybody, I think, has a credibility problem in this country, it's the media and Democrats who spent 2.5 years attacking the president, maliciously attacking him and pushing a false narrative that somehow he colluded with Russia. Not only did they say that, they called him a traitor to his own country. The lies and the attacks that came after this president were outrageous, but they didn't stop just with him. They went after everybody in his administration. We fought hard, and I'm proud of the record of accomplishment under this president. I'm proud of my time in the White House, and I loved the work that I did. And I encourage people to read my side of the story in the book, Speaking for Myself.
All right, I want to get a little bit into some presidential psychology here, since you have such a great perspective on this. You write about it in the book some. I'm curious for some more detail. How does a prep meeting with the president go when you were White House press secretary? You know what some of the questions are going to be. It's fairly predictable, but at the same time, you've got a president that has a proclivity to tweet on a moment's notice. And then, of course, you know how he thinks. So how did you prep for those White House press briefings and for putting statements together on behalf of the president?
Well, certainly, I think one of the best preparation is getting to know the principal that you're speaking on behalf of. I was fortunate enough that I got to spend a lot of time with the president, and I wasn't just trying to learn things prior to walking into the room, but I had a very good foundation. I was in the room for those critical decisions and those critical moments, so I watched things as they were happening, and I participated in those meetings. So I wasn't just trying to put it together right before walking in the door. One of the things that this president, he may be fighting with the press a lot, but he understood the power of the press and knew it would be impossible for me to do my job effectively if I didn't know the message. And the best way to do that was to have me in the room. And so he took me with him everywhere. I participated in every foreign trip that he took, sitting at the table with world leaders, dozens and dozens of world leaders, and watching those moments and participating in that helped prep me. The other part is, like you said, you know a lot of the questions that are coming, so you try to prepare for those as best you can. But there are so many things. Everything is on the table, so you try to be as up to speed on as many different topics as possible. Sometimes we got it right. Sometimes we got some wild cards, and we had to go with our gut instinct on our response, or would have to get back to that reporter at a later time instead of addressing it directly in the briefing.
You loved the job of White House press secretary. I know it took a toll on you and your family, but why did you leave the most important job you've ever held?
Well, in large part, after 2.5 years, I had spent that time in the White House missing some critical moments for my kids, which I talk about extensively throughout the book. In part, I had to change my kid's birthday. We celebrated on a different day than their actual birthday. A lot of people can be the White House press secretary. Only one person could be mom to my kids. And it was time for me to take a step back so I could really spend a lot more time with my family. I've loved having that time being back here in Arkansas, a little bit away from some of the critics and getting to spend that time with my kids.
You've worked for a number of politicians. Your father being one. You've worked on his presidential campaign. Senator John Bozeman is another one there. I kind of put both of them in the category of consensus builders. You see them over the course of their public life have built a lot of consensus. President Trump obviously has the reputation for being more divisive. I don't see the same kind of rhetoric that comes from a Donald Trump that you might see from your father or from a John Bozeman. Why does the president not have more of your father and John Bozeman in his politics, in your estimation, with you being as close to all three of them as you are?
Well, I think the president is very much his own person. I think one of the reasons he won in 2016 and one of the reasons he's been able to get so much done over these past 4 years is because he went in and he shook up Washington. He did things in a way that they had never been done before. People were looking for a change agent, a disruptor, and they certainly got that in Donald Trump. I don't think anybody else could have come into the place and fought back in the way that he has and been as successful as he had if they continued doing things the way they had always been done. I think that's why he won in 16. I think it's one of the reasons he'll do well in 2020.
So last question for you. What will you be doing on November 4th, the day after the election? Do you think you'll be gearing up for a run for Arkansas governor, or might you be doing something else?
We'll see what happens. Right now, my focus is on 2020. I think we need to put all of our time and resources into the election that's directly in front of us. We haven't had an election this consequential in my lifetime, and my focus is on helping the president get reelected, helping us maintain the Senate. I'd love to see Republicans take back the House and never have to utter the word Speaker Pelosi again. So I'm going to stay very focused on that, and I'll make a decision about what's next after we get through 2020.
All right, she's Sarah Huckabee Sanders. The book is Speaking for Myself. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it at your local bookstore. Sarah, thanks for spending some time with us.
You bet. Thanks so much, Roby.
That's Sarah Huckabee Sanders, author of the new book, Speaking for Myself, about her time in the White House. And it looks like we'll have to wait a few more months before learning more about her political future. Once again, apologies for the technical snafu tape delay that makes it sound like I interrupted her. Apologies for that. We'll try to do better next time. When we come back, Skip Rutherford, Dean of the UA Clinton School of Public Service, he announced his plans to retire in 2021. What comes next for him, the school, and this year's presidential election? Find out after this.